All right, welcome everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome to another YouTube live video where we're going to be talking, excuse me, we're going to be talking today about how to implement a system for your call answering service. I'm really excited about this one because this is one of the first steps a lot of investors take to outsourcing a function of their business. A lot of times, as you get a little bit more busy, answering all of your calls, at least the first calls that you receive, those upfront kind of screening calls, become a little bit of a burden, and it's a place where you can start to kind of lose leads, and you lose consistency because you get so busy on the back end of the business, like structuring deals and making sure that you have everything in place for a specific deal that you're working on. And so sometimes when new leads come in, those leads start falling through the cracks. What we're going to talk about today is setting up a system so you can ensure that that you will not miss another seller call. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And if you can hear me and see me, please give me a hello. Whoops, the wrong screen here. Let's see. Bear with me, guys. Please give me a hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from, what part of the country, what market you're in. Here we go. Let's see. We got Michael on. We got Jody on. Welcome, everybody. I finally got my second monitor set up so I can see all of your guys' questions, see all your comments. So please pop those comments in if you could. I'm going to kind of be flipping back and forth between the presentation and my REI BlackBook account. So, regardless of if you're watching this, if you're joining for the first time, or if you're a longtime REI BlackBook user, there's definitely gonna be a lot of value here, because regardless of the tools you're using, hopefully you might, if you're not using REI BlackBook yet, you're considering it. But regardless of the tools you're using, this framework that I'm going to walk you through is going to help you build a predictable system for ensuring that all of your inbound calls are, number one, answered, whether it be by somebody on your team or a call answering service like Pat Live. And for that matter, even if you're answering your own calls today, if you're not using a call answering service yet, this same framework and these same principles are going to help ensure that you're not missing any calls. And then it's going to be easier to hand it off to a call answering service or an acquisition manager or like an inside sales rep when you get to that point. Okay. So I'm not going to go into presenter mode. I'm just going to go through my slides because I will be flipping back and forth. All right. Let's see. We got Brian here from Columbus, Ohio. Welcome. Jody's from Columbus, Ohio. Awesome. All right. Keep them coming in, guys. All right. So how do you set a system up to make sure that you never miss another seller call? There's really 3 steps. The first one is you need to ask yourself 3 questions, and we're going to go in and I'm going to talk about what those 3 questions are, and that's going to kind of help build the structure and the framework for this system. You're then going to need to create a call tracking number, and I'm going to go into REI BlackBook and show you how to do that. Again, if you're using a different tool like CallRail or something, you can set it up. You can set it up there too, but then you have to worry about, all these integration points and making sure that your leads go into your CRM, and it becomes a big headache. So I'm going to go into REI BlackBook. I'm going to show you how to create a call tracking number. And then step 3 is creating an intake form. So you want a call tracking number in place so that all of the leads that come in, you can put that call tracking number on your marketing pieces. So for this example, we're going to use direct mail, but it really doesn't matter where you're marketing. It could be online, it could be offline, it could be billboards, radio ads. It doesn't really matter. You're going to have a call tracking number that's then going to forward to whoever is answering your calls. And again, it could be you, it could be Pat Live, it could be a number of other call answering service. It could be a member of your team. But that call needs to go to that person every single time. And then they need an easy way to input the lead. And that's where this intake form comes into place. All right. So the 3 questions that you need to ask yourself is, number 1, who's going to be answering my calls? Again, this could be a call answering service. It could be somebody on your team. It could be a virtual assistant. Today, maybe it's you. All right. But you need to know who's going to be answering your calls. And obviously you need to know what their phone number is so the calls can be forwarded directly to them. Okay. The second question is what do I want to happen when a call is answered? All right. And you want to be specific. And I'm going to take you through an example here in a minute. Okay. And then the third question is, how do I want to be notified when I get new leads? Okay. So obviously when you get a new lead, and we talked about this on previous YouTube lives. So, if you haven't watched some of our other videos, we have talked about, setting up lead notifications. So be sure to check out some of our other videos, but you want to make sure that when you receive a new lead, you or whoever on your team is responsible for following up those leads is notified right away, because you want to start analyzing that deal immediately. Because ideally when the lead comes in, right, somebody's typing their information into an intake form, and then you're receiving all that information right away, like their name, their email address, their phone number, obviously their property address. And then you could ask some qualifying questions. You might want to ask, why they're selling, how soon they're looking to sell, right? We're not going to necessarily talk about those qualifying questions today, but I am going to show you how to set that intake form up, and then how to make sure that information is delivered directly to you when those new leads come in. Okay. So here's an example of how I might answer those three questions. All right. So who's going to be answering my calls? For this example, it's going to be Pat Live, and then write their number down, because you're going to have to make sure that all the calls are forwarded to their number. So if you've never worked with a call answering service before, they will give you a number. All right. And what ends up happening is a lot of times investors will actually put that number that Pat Live gives them on their direct mail piece. The problem with that is now you're tied to Pat Live. Now all of Pat Live's phone number is on all of your marketing pieces, which means it's going to be really hard if you want to take your calls in-house, meaning like you want to hire somebody in-house. It's going to be really hard to do that, because now all these people, you sent out thousands and thousands of mailers with a Pat Live phone number on it. So now it's really hard to cancel Pat Live, right? Or it's really hard to move services. So you want to put your call tracking phone number on your direct mail pieces. And I've got I'll show you kind of what this looks like. But you want to put your call tracking number on all your direct mail pieces, and then forward all those calls to Pat Live. And then let's say Pat Live's not cutting it, or you decide to bring all of your calls in-house. Instead of now having to change the number on your marketing piece, you just go into your call tracking software. You go into Profit Dial if you're using our BlackBook, and you just change the phone number where that call is being forwarded to. Super easy to do. So you want to answer, you want to know who's answering your calls, and you need their phone number. Next, you want to ask yourself, what do I want to happen when a call is answered? And again, you want to be specific. So I want to make sure, first and foremost, that every single lead that comes in is automatically being sent to my CRM, regardless if the call's answered or not, regardless if they're able to fill out the intake form or not. I want to make sure that that phone call is dumped into my CRM. All right. I next want to make sure that a source is applied, so I know where that lead came from. Right. So let's just, again, for this example, let's say we're using direct mail. So I want to know, because then you could go back and look at reports later and say, I've got these 3 different marketing channels: direct mail, billboards, and bandit signs. And you want to know which ones are performing best, because you're spending money on all of them. You can then go back and you can look at how many deals you closed by source, how many leads you acquired by source, how many appointments you booked by source. So setting the source is important. The next thing you want to do is apply some tags, and tags are more granular, just kind of ways to segment your list. So I want to make sure that every new call that comes in has a tag automatically assigned seller lead. And then let's just say that this campaign is a probate campaign. So I also want the tag seller lead dash probate, right? And then I would also want, if the intake form is in fact filled out, I'd want seller lead dash, intake form complete, because then I can segment my database. I can segment my leads and see how many leads I'm getting from direct mail, if you want to go super high level, or if you want to really kind of zoom in and say, how many leads have I gotten from direct mail that resulted in an intake form being filled out? You could also do that. And you can run all these different reports inside of the CRM and REI BlackBook, which is really cool. As I'm going through, guys, if you have questions, please pop them in the chat. I can see the chat over here on my other screen, so feel free to pop questions in the chat. I'd love to answer anything you guys have. Okay. And then the third question is, how do I want to be notified of a new lead? In this example, I'm just saying I want to receive a text message and an email with the new leads information. Okay. So what does this look like in practice? All right. First, what we want to do, what you need to do first is get your phone number set up. So get a call tracking phone number set up. Pretty easy to do. And this is kind of what that system is going to look like. So your call tracking number kind of sits in the middle here. All right. And you've got your call tracking number, and I just put a random phone number here that you're going to place on all of your marketing pieces. Right. And ideally, there's other videos where we talk about how to build a robust call tracking system. So I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty and the weeds in this video, but just know that there are other videos on our YouTube channel if you want to check those out that show you how to build a call tracking system for all your different lead sources. Okay. Because ideally you might have 5, 10, 15 different phone numbers. If you're doing a bunch of different type of marketing, they could all forward to Pat Live, or they could all forward to the same place. But if you're doing direct mail, then you want to have a call tracking phone number that tracks your direct mail. And if you want to get even more specific, you want to have a call tracking number that tracks your probate direct mail campaigns. Okay. So nonetheless, your phone number, your call tracking number is going to sit on your marketing piece. When people call it, that call is going to automatically be forwarded to your Pat Live number or whoever's answering your calls. Okay. And this just happens automatically. And then the beauty of this is also when calls come in, the system will automatically assign a source, and you set this all up beforehand. And this is what I'm going to show you here in a second. So the system will automatically assign a source. And again, we want to assign the source direct mail. The system's automatically going to apply tags to the contact as the call comes in. And again, the tags are, seller lead and seller lead probate. And this happens automatically. You don't have to do anything other than set it up once. And then it's going to notify you when you get a new lead. Okay. So it's going to send you an email and a text notification when you get a new lead. All right. So let's jump in and I'll show you how to create your first call tracking number. All right. So, again, if you're using REI BlackBook, when you log in, this is the main dashboard that you see, and you go to system settings, and it's going to take you directly to this screen here where you've got all your different call tracking numbers. All right. So I've got a bunch of numbers in here. And I'm going to create a new phone number, and I'm going to call it seller lead Pat Live. Okay. So this is the phone number that I'm going to put on my direct mail pieces. And all the calls are going to be sent directly to Pat Live. So I'm going to click on add new, and I'm going to set up a new business line, and I want to do a local phone number. I'm going to type in my area code, and I might try to find one with 2 zeros in it, so it's easy to remember. And I will choose, let's see, 916-8600, 916-9200. We'll do 916-9200. All right. And I'm just going to click use selected number. Okay. It now takes us to this next screen where we need to configure our number. So I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to call this, and I do this with all my numbers in brackets, seller lead. So I know what type of lead would be calling into this number. And I might say probate, direct mail, Pat Live. And now this phone number is going to be used so only on my direct mail pieces for my probate list. Okay. And Pat Live is going to be answering them. It's then going to ask us to set up a call flow. I have one created already, and I'll show you what this call flow looks like here in a minute. But basically what a call flow does is it just allows you to create a set of actions that you want to happen when a lead calls in. So for this example, as we already talked about, and this is why it's important to kind of plan before you build. So you plan first, then you build. So we said we want the call to be forwarded to Pat Live, and we want to be notified when we get a new call. And that's basically what this call flow does. It forwards a call and it sends us a notification, and it assigns it. I don't think it assigns a task. It just creates a notification, forwards the call to Pat Live. Okay. So I'm going to select that call flow, and then we can set up our tracking directly inside the phone number, which is nice. This is a newer feature, probably in the last 4 or 5 months, maybe. But it makes it really easy to set up call tracking numbers because now you can do everything at the phone number level. So I'm just going to go and find I'm going to create seller lead. I'm going to apply a tag seller lead and then seller lead probate. I think those were the only ones I needed. Let's see. Seller lead and seller lead probate. Again, this is why I like to plan first and then build, because I can just go reference my plan. Okay, and then we're going to set a source, and it's just direct mail. There we go, direct mail. Click done. And then if I scroll down, you can see I've now got a new call tracking phone number set up. Okay, one more thing I want to do is I want to enable call recording, because I want any call that comes in, I want to be able to record so I can go back and check it for quality purposes. I want to make sure that, you know, if Pat Live says they're going to do something, that they're doing it to the quality that I want my leads to receive. So I'm going to record all of these calls. All right. So right now you can see there's a call recording column. By default, it's disabled. You just click on disabled and you can go and you can turn it on for all incoming calls, outgoing calls. And then if you need a notice of call recording in your state, which you'll just need to check with your local laws, you can do that. And basically when any call comes in, it's just going to say, you know, this call is recorded for quality purposes. So you can turn that on, and then you could use one of our pre-recorded messages if you want. Click Save Changes. And now our call tracking phone number is set up, and it's going to automatically send leads directly into the CRM. So when a new lead comes in, so if you guys want to test this out, you can. You're not really going to hear anything on your end because it forwards to a fake phone number. But if you guys want to call this, it's just 314-916-9200. And then regardless of if Pat Live answers the phone or not, or if I answer the phone or not, these leads go directly into my CRM. Okay, so now we're kind of slowly plugging some little holes that we have in our leaky sales bucket, if you will. So I'll give you guys a second to call. Again, it's 314-916-9200, and then I'll come back and we'll take a look at that here in a minute. Okay. Actually, let's just see if anybody called. Go to profit dial inbox. Nobody's called yet. So if I go back. All right, but now our call tracking number is set up. So I could start putting that on all of my direct mail pieces, and those calls are going to go directly to Pat Live. So let's take a look at the call flow that actually is triggered when somebody calls in. And if you don't know what a call flow is, don't be afraid to post a question in the chat, and I can explain further. But I think this should probably suffice, this demonstration I'm about to show you here. So if I jump into, it looks like there's 2 active contacts. So 2 people have actually called. And so all that's going to happen is, and what you can see here is this is just a call flow, and you can choose what you want to happen when a call comes in. So I set this up ahead of time because we have other YouTube videos that show you how to do this in depth. But the notification is set up, and it just says you have a new seller lead that just called into Pat Live. And I'm going to receive this via text message and via email. And then you can see the calls being forwarded, and the calls being forwarded to the number that Pat Live gave me. Okay. If the call is answered, nothing happens. If the call is not answered, they're taken directly to voicemail. And then a task is assigned to myself or a member of my team that says, call back Pat Live to missed call. You know, you've got a missed call from Pat Live. You can choose who it's assigned to, what type of task it is, the priority. And then if you just do 0 days, it's assigned automatically. And then the system by default will notify you that you have a new task. And so I'm not going to go into that, but you can set up your task notifications to be sent via text message or email. Okay. All right. So let's go click save and close. See if we got any comments or questions. Not seeing any yet. Perfect. Okay. Jump back to the presentation here. All right. So now that our call tracking number is set up, we want to set up our intake form. And what an intake form is sometimes you hear us talk about these at REI BlackBook as being internal landing pages. Essentially, it's just a landing page or a web form that you're using for internal purposes for your internal team. And we would consider a Pat Live agent, a member of your team, right? So this is just a form that you give to whoever's answering your calls, and it's going to ask all the questions that you would normally ask on a call. Okay. And so the flow here, kind of the way this works, is a call comes in, the call's answered, in this example by a Pat Live agent. They then have a link to your intake form. And so you can give a link to a Pat Live agent that they just fill out every time they get a new call. And then what happens is that lead is dumped automatically directly into your CRM. Now, they'll already be in your CRM because they called in. If you're using REI BlackBook, they'll already be inside of your CRM. So that contact record will just be updated with all of the information that agent gets. Okay. And then what happens automatically is when a form is submitted, you can trigger a workflow, which is very similar to a call flow. They're just slightly different because an inbound phone call was not made. All right. So you can't forward a call if no call was made. If a form is filled out, though, you can still apply tags. You can still create notifications. You can assign tasks, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So imagine a call comes in from direct mail. Instead of going to your cell phone, it goes directly to Pat Live. They conduct that initial kind of discovery call where you're asking your base level questions. And then that lead is delivered directly to your CRM, and you get a notification right away that says, hey, you've got a new lead. Go review the call. You could listen to the call if you wanted to, because the call was recorded. You can certainly look at all the information that the call answering agent, the Pat Live agent, put into that intake form. And then you can go back and you can pick up the phone and call the seller if you need more information, or if you've got enough information, you can start to analyze the deal and start to put your offer together. Let's see. Brian says, I have multiple sales reps. Can all of their phones ring when a seller comes in? So not with a profit dial phone number, but what a lot of people will do, Brian, is they'll put a profit dial phone number on their marketing pieces. And then you can forward that profit dial phone number to a Google Voice number, which can ring multiple phones at once. So that's how you would do that. Okay, so I'm going to show you now how to build this system. All right, so we got our call tracking number set up. We now need to build our intake form for your sales reps or your call answering reps to plug in all of the information for the new lead. So there's a couple different steps here. The first step is you just need to create a web form, and then you need to create a landing page where you can drag that web form out to. And then we just give you a subdomain that this page is built on, and you can take that link and you can give it to a member of your team or your call answering service. And again, you don't need to buy a domain name for it or anything, because it's just for internal purposes. Okay. So it can be a long, ugly domain name. As long as they have the link, they can click on it, and they can save it as a bookmark in their browser, then they're good to go. All right. Okay. So let's go back to the dashboard. And from the dashboard, if we go to web tools and we go to web forms, we're going to build out our web form. Now, I'm going to build a super simple web form, but just know that you can build very complex, very in-depth web forms, but we're just going to build a pretty simple one for demonstration purposes. Okay. So I'm going to click on new web form, and we're going to call this Pat Live seller intake form. All right. And so by default, it's got the name and the email. So I like to put these in, 3 columns. And then I'm also going to drag the phone number out. And we're going to make that. So one thing to note here is if you're using Pat Live, most of the time they require that you don't make fields required. The reason is because if the person's apprehensive to give you their information for whatever reason, then they have to put in fake information to submit the form, which is obviously not good. So if you're using a call answering service, then be sure that nothing is required, because they're going to ask you to change it anyways. All right. So we're going to automatically opt contacts in so they can receive text and voice broadcasts. All right. Make sure that these are not required. We'll say full name. And then we'll drag out the property address. All right. So if you're using REI BlackBook here, you've got two different types of field: contact manager fields and property pipeline fields. So you want to drag out the property address under property pipeline fields. And I like to use the single field, because what this is going to do is actually create a new deal in your property pipeline. Whereas the contact address is their actual mailing address. All right. So, and that can obviously be different. If you're dealing with absentee owned properties, that could be a completely different address. All right. So another nice thing about this property address single field is it has Google autocomplete. So they can just start typing the address and it'll autocomplete the address. So that just helps with accuracy of data, which is nice. All right. You could then drag out, bedrooms, do 2 columns, bathrooms, 2 columns. Let's do square feet, 2 columns. And then you've got this other here. And so when you're creating your lead sheet, you can create any custom field that you want. Okay, so there's support videos and there's training videos to show you how to customize your lead sheet. But you can ask any type of question that you want, and that information will be stored inside of the deal. All right. So for example, if we want to ask, how long have you owned the property? We can do that. And then that information is going to be stored, inside of the deal. And you can just continue to build this form out and ask any questions that you want. Okay. Change the button, submit lead. Again, not too worried about button color or anything like that, because this is just going to be used internally. But you can change button color and all that type of stuff if you want to. And then you can create any sort of checkbox questions, drop-down questions, yes or no's. If you want to have them upload a file, you can do that. If this is a call answering service, you're not going to want to do that, obviously, because the person that's answering the call is not going to be able to upload documents on behalf of the seller, right? It's not going to be on their computer, so it's not going to work. But you can do this. So you can create these forms for any function of your business. A lot of times people use these for rental applications for hard money. Obviously they use them for seller intake forms on things like websites and landing pages. But these web forms are super dynamic, super customizable, and pretty easy to build, which is nice. Rod asked if this is going to be posted somewhere to watch again later. Yeah. Hey, Rod, by the way, hope you're doing well. Yes, this video is going to be available almost immediately on our YouTube channel. All right. So you'll be able to see it there. And we also do post them on our blog. It usually takes a few days, but if you check back later this week, it'll also be on our blog at reiblackbook.com. Okay. So we've also got form details so that you can just kind of customize the form. I like to just do it above, but that's up to you. You can enable CAPTCHA if you want. And that's just going to add this little, I'm not a robot. Not as big of a deal because you're not marketing this page anywhere, but you can enable CAPTCHA, and then you can run a workflow. All right. So this is where that workflow is going to automatically apply tags, send notifications, assign tasks, and things like that. So I created a workflow called, I believe it was Seller Lead Pat Live. Let's see. I clearly need to clean up my account. Let's see. Pat Live. All right. Sorry about that. All right. I'm just going to choose one of these. And then what's going to happen is if there's any sort of text messages involved, if they're going to receive any sort of text message, the lead, like a confirmation text that just says, hey, thank you, it was great talking with you. The flow is going to require you to choose a phone number. And if that's the case, you're probably going to want to choose the phone number that they called into. All right. So I would choose the seller lead Pat Live phone number. And then I don't need to check this. I'm going to actually uncheck this because the notification is happening inside of the workflow itself. Okay. So I'm going to try to go find that workflow one more time. Let's see, because I wanted to demonstrate this, but I may not have saved it. Might have been the problem because I know I called it seller lead Pat Live. Pat Live intake form. There it is. I guess I was lying to myself. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to click save and we're good to go. I'm going to click done, publish the changes. And now the last step, all we need to do is create a simple landing page where we can drag this web form out, and then we'll have a link that we can give to our call answering service. So we go to Web Tools, Landing Pages, click Add Landing Page. I'm just going to choose a blank page. Doesn't need to be styled. I'll call this Pat Live Intake Form. I like to always try to put this put this seller lead kind of prefix on it, just so everything is, so as you can see, I didn't do that on my web form. I almost always do, and then it makes it harder to find. So I always put the seller lead prefix on there. Click build landing page. And I'm just going to drag out, whoops. If I go to add content, and this is our landing page builder, by the way, if you've never seen it, pretty cool. Everything's drag and drop. I'm just going to drag out a 3-column row. Click add content, lead capture modules, drag out a web form. Got my Pat Live seller intake form right there. Click save. There we go. And I can drag this out a little bit more. So that's all in one line. Again, styling really doesn't matter, but it just kind of drives me crazy a little bit. And then what is cool about this is you could add a script here. All right. So you could, if I wanted to, go and I could add a text editor, and you could say, inbound seller lead script. Hello, this is your name. All right. And I'm not going to type out this full script, but this is where you would copy and paste your script. All right. Which is pretty nice. I know a lot of investors that will do that. They'll put a little script on this page, and then their call answering service can kind of walk through. Now, with that said, I mean, if you've got somebody on your team that's seasoned and they kind of have their own script, you obviously don't have to do this. You could also, brand this if you wanted to. You could add your logo to it if you want to make it look more official. But this technically will suffice for what we need. So I'm going to click done, publish changes. And now this might be hard to see, but this URL right here is the URL that you will give to Pat Live for whatever call answering service you're using. And then, let's just say that I'm acting as one of these agents. A call comes in, I'm talking to somebody on the phone. I've got my intake form always pulled up, ready to go. And then I can start typing in their information. So let's just say this person's name is Sally, the seller. All right. Property location is, 4983. We'll do 4983 Oletha Avenue. Bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. It is 1,800 square feet, and they've owned the property for 8 years. Okay. And you can make these types of questions drop downs. I would try to, this is a little bit of a pro tip here. The more drop downs and multiple choice questions you can give to a call answering service, the better. right? Because some people might type in 8 years. Some people might type in, 8 years. Some people might type in all these different types of variations of the same data essentially. And then it's really hard to go search for it. Okay. So, what you want to do ideally is give them either drop downs or check boxes or radio buttons where they can just go click, 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 click. Okay. So I'll just say 8 years. All right. Nonetheless, we're going to submit the lead and we're good to go. It says, thank you. We've received your information. And then if I wanted to submit a new lead, I would just refresh the page and submit a new lead. And so now what we kind of just simulated was a seller call coming in. We talked to the person. The person's name was Sally, the seller. We inputted their information. And now if I jump back into my REI BlackBook account, we'll see that the lead was automatically added to the CRM. All right. So if I go and check this lead out, you can see here that now they didn't actually call in. So we didn't simulate that part because the source would have automatically been applied and some other tags would have automatically been assigned. If I wait another minute, you can see here that the property is automatically added to their account. So a deal was actually created. And for some reason it's taking a minute, but this tag will be applied here in a second. So now you'll be able to see the tag as well. All right. So any questions? Do we have any questions? I'm not seeing any. All right. Another thing that happened, like I said, is a deal was automatically created. So I can jump directly inside the deal and I can start working this deal. I can start running comps, analyzing the deal. If I get it under contract, we've got a whole suite of property marketing tools as well. Okay. So to recap, what we talked about today was how to build a system so you never miss another seller call. So you want to start by asking yourself 3 simple questions. You need to create a call tracking number, and then you need to create an intake form that your call answering service can use to fill out on your behalf. Okay. If you do that, you will have a pretty airtight system for generating leads and making sure that all of your leads are captured. They're delivered directly to your CRM. No lead is going to be left behind. No call is going to be missed. And most importantly, you're going to have a greater opportunity to convert more of your leads into deals, which is the name of the game. Looks like we do have a question from Jody. It says, does the back office database split the name into first and last field, or is it better to create them as 2 separate fields on the intake form? Good question, Jody. It automatically splits the name up. So 1 name field is fine. As a matter of fact, I think we only allow 1 name field, but it'll automatically separate those into first and last name. So you can see here, it automatically separates it into first and last name. It's a good question. All right. And you can see that the tags were automatically created. Just takes a minute sometimes for those to go through. Another question. Perfect. Josh, the one thing missing from the deal sheet is the county courthouse information. Some other software systems have that. Is REIBB planning on adding it? So we do, let me see here. We do have some information. As you can see, we don't have the last sold price. We do have the last sold date, some of the tax information. This data I added myself. The year built I did not, so it automatically merges in the year built. You can see some comparable sales data as well inside of here, but we don't pull in all of that data automatically. Now, with that said, we do have another company, another app that we've built and are still kind of in the process of building, called Profit Drive, which is a driving for dollars app and list management app. And that has a lot more information, a lot more of the financial information, the estimated mortgage, the last sold date, the last sold price, and we have all that data. Now, that is a completely separate company, completely separate tool. We are kind of building some tight integrations. So it's not to say that that data wouldn't be available inside of REI BlackBook at some point, but today we don't have super granular data on the deal. Rhonda said, if you have multiple reps, can they see all reps leads or just their own leads? That's a great question, Rhonda. That is something that our team is working on, because right now you can choose whether or not reps see leads, but you can't segment those leads by tag or by the owner of the lead or the owner of the deal. We've got a lot of feedback on that. We've had that feature request come up quite a bit. So that is something that the dev team has on their dev board to work on. It's not currently in development, but it is something that they will be working on in the quarter, probably one of the early quarters of 2021, hopefully. No promises though. Great questions though, guys. This video went a little bit longer. They're usually about 25, 30 minutes. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I'll stick around for as long as you want if you guys have questions, even if they're unrelated to what we talked about today. But the beautiful thing about having a system like this set up is, again, you're ensuring that all of the time and energy and money that you're putting into your front end marketing machine, you're getting the greatest return on that possible, because you're making sure that initial experience that the seller's having is a flawless one, meaning they call, somebody answers, ask some very specific questions, and then a member of your team or yourself follows up to get additional information. And then some other videos that we've shot earlier. This is, probably one of, I think this is maybe the 12th or 13th episode that we've done. We've got other videos to show you how to then build a follow-up campaign. So if people don't, if they're not ready to receive an offer, if they're not receptive to your offer, you can then build a campaign, and you can actually work the deal from initial phone call all the way to the closing table with one system, which is a beautiful thing. So with that said, I just want to thank everybody for joining me. We do these YouTube videos every week. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It just helps our channel grow, helps us spread the word. If you want to continue getting content like this, please subscribe to our channel. We'll be back here next Monday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you guys have questions in the meantime, please just leave them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to check back throughout the week and see what kind of questions you have, and I'll be answering them as you ask them. So thanks a lot. I hope you guys have a great week. Hope you learned something today. Go out and implement what you learned. If you have questions and you are an REI BlackBook member, please tag me in our members only Facebook group with those questions as you're working on this and as you're building this out. I'd love to help. So have a great week, guys, and we will see you next Monday, same time, same place.